Hi, everybody. I'm Arden Kaywin. Welcome to the Pro Singer Success Collective. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 early warning signs that your singing career is headed for disaster. Stay tuned. All right, so this is a serious topic because I know there are so many of you out there who are doing a lot of things with your voice, with your singing career, and you're not getting results and you're not getting where you want to go. And so there really are warning signs that if you keep going in this direction, that it will not end well and you will end up frustrated, feeling like you're failing, maybe even quit or just continue to knock your head against the wall and lose the joy that you have for the singing that you really want to do. So before we dig into this, I really want to start by saying that any success in any arena is really about mindset. It really, really is. And I have been in this industry working as a professional singer and working with professional singers for a very long time. And I see many singers succeed, and I have also seen them fail. And the difference between those who succeed and those who fail really is what is going on up here in your mindset. And so that is a big part of what we're going to be talking about today. And you can think to yourself that you know everything and but you really can't keep yourself in that tiny little box. Okay? Because if you think, well, I'll just continue to do things the way I've been doing them, then I'm going to get where I want to go. Like, that's not going to work. And that, my friends, is warning sign number one, that if you keep thinking, well, if I just keep doing what I've been doing, that somehow I'm going to magically get different results, you are already on the track to disaster. Okay? Because usually it's just not true. Usually, if you keep doing things the way you've been doing them, you're going to keep getting the same results that are keeping you stuck. And I don't want that for you. And so if you want to make a big quantum leap in your singing, in your career, and in your life, then there have to be some big changes in the way you think and the strategies that you pursue. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So warning sign number one, keep thinking if I just keep doing the same thing, I'll eventually get there. That's warning sign number one. Warning sign number two, let's talk about that. Warning sign number two is you find yourself always getting ready to get ready. So what do I mean by that? Always getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready, and you're never actually ready, and everything just keeps getting pushed out and pushed out and pushed out. And I see this all the time, you guys, and it's really born out of fear. So like you set this big goal for yourself, and that goal is so big, and it can feel so terrifying that all of a sudden all these big demons and gremlins start popping up in your brain as to why you can't do it. Well, everybody in my family thinks it's impossible to make it in the music industry. I didn't go to a fancy music school or conservatory. I have tried all these things before and nothing's ever worked or nothing's ever changed. And so you've got all these negative thoughts going on in your mind that bubble up. And most people at that point, they start to give up on the dream altogether. But if you don't give up on the dream, then what happens to those singers is they end up hiding in the busy work, in the getting ready, in the getting ready. And this, I think, is even more common. And so what I mean by this is that anytime you want to achieve something big, there's probably one or maybe two things that you could do right now that would catapult you in the direction of that big goal. But the problem is that those one or two things are usually really, really scary to do. They're going to be way outside of your comfort zone, and they're going to be things that you have not done before. And so you look at all these things that come with all these excuses about not doing that. And then you go and do all these other things that make you feel comfortable and productive, even though they're not actually getting you any closer to your goal. So here's an example. I was recently talking to a classical singer, an opera singer, and she's a very educated artist. She has her master's in vocal performance and her undergrad in vocal performance. And it had been about 4 years since she'd finished her master's and graduated. And she was really having trouble succeeding in her career as an opera singer. She was not landing opportunities at prestigious young artist programs. She was not landing roles in the summer festival. She was not getting the kind of management that could get her in front of casting people who cast for the A and B level opera houses. And because of all that, she wasn't making any money. And so she was in a side job that wasn't fulfilling her, that wasn't paying her for her gifts, and that was sucking time away from her being able to do the things that she wanted to do for her classical singing career. And so she was super frustrated. And she was telling me, I feel like I'm meant for something more. I think I'm going to go back and I'm going to get my PhD in vocal performance and classical voice. And I was like, okay, wait, hold on. Let's just hold on a minute and let's deconstruct this for a second. Is getting your PhD going to bring you closer to your goal of being a sought after soprano singing in major opera houses around the world? Or is getting your PhD going to actually take you farther from your goal? So let's like fast forward right now to 4 years later when she would get this imaginary PhD. Okay, so now it's 4 years later. She has her PhD. She goes back to school. She comes out. She's 4 years older. It's probably going to cost her upwards of $100,000, which she doesn't have. So she's going to have to borrow that. So fast forward, it's 4 years. She's deeper in debt. 4 years have gone by, and she's coming back into the same competitive audition market that she left 4 years ago. Only now she's going to have the title of PhD next to her name. Is that really going to be the thing that moves her forward out of all the other possible actions that she could take? And so I asked her, okay, let's just get some clarity here. How many auditions are you going on? And she was like, I've done a few here and there. And I'm like, wait, what's a few here and there? How many auditions did you go on last audition season? She said 4. 4. And so then I realized what was really going on. She was afraid to really aggressively put herself out there to audition because she was afraid of getting rejected by all the companies that she really wants to perform with and that they would say no. And so for her, it was more emotionally comfortable to go back to school, get the PhD, which was the nice, comfy space to hang out for like 4 years, even if it was going to put her $100,000 in debt and save herself from the fear of having to actually put herself out there aggressively and actually get shot down in the audition market. Does that make sense? So we can do this all the time without realizing it, continually getting ready to get ready to get ready, rather than doing the scary thing. In this case, putting herself out there and aggressively and actively auditioning for everything she possibly can and risking getting no's. Okay. And you guys, people spend years here, decades here. I mean, people can spend their whole life here if they're not careful. And you have to be really careful, because if you set a really big goal for your singing career, you got to take a step backwards and look, what are you doing each day? What is the stuff that is on your to-do list? And look at those items and say, is this really going to move me closer to my goal? Or is this just going to be busy work so I can feel like I did something good with my day, but not really moving the needle on what I really want? And so here is a big hint. If the stuff on your to-do list isn't a little bit scary, or probably a lot scary, then it's probably not aggressive enough, because that's what it takes. And so if you're spending all this time getting ready to get ready, you're basically just killing time and making that goal even farther away than it is right now. And so that is the second clear sign that your singing career is headed for disaster. And you guys, I'm not catastrophizing here. I see singers succumb to this stuff all the time. Talented singers who could otherwise be doing what they want and having what they want. And oftentimes what else I see is that we will actually ourselves put something in the way. Like, we will create this obstacle and we make it the reason why we're not where we want to be, or where we're not doing what we want to do, or having what we want to have in our career and in our life. So like in this example with this singer, it's like, oh, well, it's not really me or my ability to audition well or land a role. It's not really my willingness to put myself on the line. It's really about the degree that I don't have. It's really about the letters after my name that I don't have. So let me go focus on that, because then it doesn't have to be about me and my self responsibility of putting myself in the hot seat or in line for being able to deliver in an audition when it counts. And that's why you're living in fear, right? That's really why, because it's the fear of not being able to do that. And so it's all your mindset and your perspective of how you're thinking about it. But the more you put these kinds of obstacles in your way, the more excuses you put in there, it prevents you from really having what you want. And all because now everything just looks so daunting. And so it's this fear, this idea, hey, it's not me. Now it's all these other things that I should do because I'm not ready yet. And there's these other things that have to happen first. And what's so sneaky about that, guys, is that it all sounds so reasonable. It sounds so reasonable. It's like, well, yeah, how am I going to be a chart topping artist or finally, do a role in an A-level opera house or a Broadway show without super professional headshots? Or without my master's or PhD, or without hiring this fancy marketing company or getting, this fancy producer. It's like, well, wait a minute. I don't really have any reviews of my records or my performances or anything like that. So, I should probably sing for free for a little while and get some press together. Like I'll do that. That sounds so reasonable. But really, what you've done is you've just pushed success off for like a year at least as you go do all those things, but none of them are addressing the main issue, which like in this singer's cases, she's not out there getting her chops, auditioning, getting a lot of no's, tweaking the dial, figuring out what she can do to start getting yeses. The longer she puts that off, the harder it will be for her to get that success. So please understand that there are so many places you can hide, and it's really going to sound good to you. It's really going to sound so reasonable, but it's not. And so it's that bold, scary action that is essential. So here are some quick clues for you. If you're not actively out there auditioning, performing, releasing music regularly, and by that I mean auditioning, recording, performing several times a week, you're not getting where you want to go. So fundamentally, your singing career is about putting yourself in a situation where people can hear you and say yes or no to you, because that's how you get data on what's working and what's not. So the next time you go out, you get more yeses instead of nos. Like I have this friend who was trying to be an actor, and he would do all the things. He would go to acting class. He would rehearse his scenes. He would read plays. He would do scene studies. He would do workshops. And the one thing that he wasn't doing was going into an audition where someone could say yes or no to him. And the reason he didn't do that is because that's where the rejection happens. And that part is scary. And that's the part that he was trying to avoid. And that's the part that most of you are trying to avoid by not putting out the records, by not putting yourself in performance situations, by not auditioning. And so if you're not regularly submitting for gigs, auditions, management, if you don't have social media presence or a website, if you're not recording and putting your music out there to anyone and everyone who will listen every single day, that's what you're trying to avoid. Rejection, somebody saying yes or no. But you know what? If those things are not happening, you're right. No one is going to find your music. No one is going to hire you for a show that you didn't go audition for. And worst of all, you're not going to know what is working and what isn't. And without that knowledge, you don't have a prayer at getting closer to what you want, because you have no idea what you actually need to fix to get there. And that's the only way you get what you want, is by knowing what dials you need to tweak to move yourself closer to the success you want. And so understand, if you're not putting yourself out there, if you're not putting yourself on the line where somebody can say yes or no to you, then you're not really building a singing career. You're not really building anything. And so your goal should be, how can you make that happen as fast as possible? So look, you could waste time building your brand. You could waste time having the perfect, website. You could have the perfect YouTube channel, or you can start putting yourself and your music out there where people can say yes or no. Because maybe you have to release 5 singles before it's an overwhelming yes to what you're doing. Maybe you have to release 20. Maybe it's 50. Maybe you have to go on 10 auditions or 20 auditions before you get hired. Maybe it's 100. But the goal is to have that happen as fast as possible. And all that other stuff is just getting ready to get ready. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you guys. So, another clue that I want to give you, and I think I mentioned this before, but if you're looking at your to do list and you're seeing all the stuff that you want to do, and of those things that are not scary to you, they're not really outside your comfort zone, then they're probably not the things that you need to be focusing on right now. Like, so think about what everyone else around you believes is true, because this is another reason why. So, this is another really sneaky thing, is because all of these things that other people believe that you should do, they all sound reasonable. Because if you're not successful and somebody says to you, oh, you should do this, you should do that, but here's the problem. If you're not successful artist, odds are you're probably surrounded by a lot of other unsuccessful artists as well. And they have probably got the same excuses that you've got. And so now you guys are just going to sit there and reinforce each other's limiting stories. And so let's say you're an opera singer and you've got a friend who's also struggling to become an opera singer. And you say, I think I'm going to do the festival auditions this year. I'm going to do Santa Fe audition or do Wolf Trap. I'm going to do Aspen. And they go, well, wait a minute. You don't have your master's yet. And so you're going to be competing with all these other singers coming from the Juilliard master's program and the Curtis master's program. And you're like, well, yeah, I'm not in that network. I don't have my master's program from one of those prestigious conservatories. And they're like, well, you better go get that first before you do these festival auditions, because otherwise no one's going to take you seriously and you're not even going to get offered an audition. And you're like, oh yeah, that sounds right. So yeah, I better go get my master's first. You see what I'm saying? And so now your friends have enrolled you in their unproductive story, and it's totally insidious. And I see this all the time. And so another great question to ask yourself is, what does everybody else around me believe? And what would happen if I believed the opposite? What if the opposite were true? So you're surrounded by all these people who think that you need to be doing this or that to be successful. And you need to ask yourself, okay, is this really true? And sometimes I find that a lot of these long held beliefs, like these sort of things that seem like common senses, like let's say sometimes those things were true, but most of the time they're really not true. They're just excuses and rationalizations and even superstitions that enough people have picked up on that now everybody has just sort of taken them as truth and for granted. So the more that you can ask yourself these kinds of questions, like, are you doing things that are scary? Are you just accepting what everybody else tells you, or are you considering what would happen if the opposite were true? Okay. And so if you're thinking that way, that's how you get yourself out of that rut of getting ready to get ready to get ready, and you're forever getting ready, and you never actually do the things that are going to be meaningful to get you where you want to go. So that brings me to the third piece. The third sign that your singing career is headed for disaster, and it is this: the habit of thinking small. Why think small, you guys? Why? Why think small? If you were setting goals, you might as well set big goals. So now, I don't want you to go out there and set goals that are so big that they just end up paralyzing you. But you should be setting goals that are outside of your comfort zone. These are the goals that are a little bit scary to you, and there's a few reasons why for that. So first of all, I can tell you from experience that it is actually easier to hit a big goal than it is to hit a small goal. And why is that true? It's because if you're going to be orienting yourself to an action in a certain direction, then you might as well orient yourself in a direction that inspires you into the action that you want to take. So when you've got a big goal that could massively change your life, it's like, I want to make a chart topping record. Say that's your goal, okay? And that might seem really crazy to you. I want to make a chart topping record, okay? But when you're focused on it, it's going to generate tremendous energy for you and inspiration for you and motivation for you, because you know that if you hit that goal, it is going to change your whole life. And so by sort of aiming high, you're making sure that the choices that you're making are choices that won't just work for a little while, but that are going to inspire you and work over a long term. So have a vision that is big and aggressive, because wow, does it focus your energy like nothing else will do. So, one of the things that I always say is that your goal should catch your breath a little. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, ooh, right? Like where it's like, it's a little scary, but you're setting this goal because it lights you up. And, the thought of it says to you, you know what? I am so driven by this. I am so strong in my reasons why I'm going to stay up late at night and I'm going to get up early in the morning. I'm going to do whatever it takes because, yeah, it's a little scary, but I also know that it's going to cause me to be something and it's going to have me grow and I'm going to be more right with myself as opposed to I have all these little things in place and yeah, that's reasonable and that seems like a good idea. And then you just stop the to-do list and at a certain point you never are where you want to be. And so setting these goals that catch your breath, it's exciting. And the truth of the matter is you have to train yourself a little bit to think that way. You do. Like, for some of us, we do that and we get really scared, but then you go and you start shifting your mindset and you have tools in your back pocket to stay in that action, stay in that inspiration. Or maybe, you have a coach or a mentor that's helping you to change the way you're thinking about it. And so that excites you as opposed to debilitating you where you're scared and you're not taking any action at all. And so this is the way it works. You set a big goal for yourself. And then, like I said before, you start taking those meaningful, impactful, scary actions to move you aggressively in the direction of that goal. Then what's going to happen is you're going to hit a brick wall. You're going to hit a brick wall and you're going to hit that wall of resistance. And then what you have to do is find a way to innovate around the challenges, around that problem to make those improvements to your voice, to your mindset, to your strategy to get past that barrier. And then you've now up leveled. And then you're going to hit another wall and you're going to hit another resistance. And then what you do is find a way to innovate again around that problem. Those improvements in your voice, in your performance, in your mindset, in your strategy, now you're up leveled again. And then you keep doing this and you keep going up to the next level until you hit the next barrier. And then you go and you fix that thing. And then what you're doing, guys, is you are improving. Okay. And so the faster you can make these little loops with your technique, with your mindset, with your ability to make an impact in your performances, in your recordings, in your auditions, the faster you can do that and make these up levels, the faster you will get where you want to go in your career, in your singing career. And so look, the reason that you don't have a successful singing career at the level you want right now, today, right now, is because there's just like a bunch of stuff that you're doing wrong that you can't even see. You probably had some realizations, some ahas, even just from watching what we're talking about today. And so what you do is you got to start moving in the direction of your goals. And then you do hit that resistance. And when you hit that resistance, it's like life tapping you on the shoulder going, hey, I know you want to quit your day job. I know you want to be a full-time performer, but you got to fix this in order to do that. You got to fix this thing first. And so the faster you can fix that thing and then move forward, the better. And so the problem is that we are afraid to take big action like we talked about before. And when we run into these initial little problems, we let it completely take the wind out of our sails. Or we think, oh, it's supposed to be a flow. If I'm meant to do this, it's supposed to be ease. If I'm in the zone, I feel like it should just work, but it's just not working. And maybe then I'm not meant to do this. See how insidious that is? And it's like, no, you are doing this because you know that you're going to have problems. But the thing is that fixing those problems with your voice, with your technique, with your performance, with your auditions, with your recordings, whatever it may be, fixing those problems is how you are going to grow your voice and your career to the success that you want. That's the good stuff. Like making a chart-topping record is amazing, okay? But really standing on that stage, taking a curtain call in your Broadway career, that's amazing. But you know what's really amazing is the person that you become along the way as you solve problem after problem after problem to get there. Because some of these problems are going to be in your strategy, like, oh, I tried this in an audition or a recording and it didn't work, so let me try this instead. But the best stuff, the really, really good stuff, is when you've got something deep in your psychology that's holding you back. Like your whole life, maybe you never felt like you were good enough. And then you try to take action, but you realize that that belief of not being good enough is sabotaging your sound and your performances and your energy and your auditions and all the stuff that you're doing. And you realize that this belief that you're not good enough is really the roots causing all of these problems and how you're showing up and not being able to make that impact. And so, how amazing your life is going to be if you let go of that belief once and for all. Like maybe that belief has been in your family for generations, but how amazing would it be in your life, not just your career, to let that go once and for all and started to really believe that you were born to do this. And that's the shift. That's the shift. That's something, that confidence, that power, that is something that you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life. And boy, does that create an impactful performer who nails auditions and makes records that people want to listen to over and over again. So these big lessons that you encounter as you take confident, scary action towards your goals, the faster you can learn those lessons, the faster you're going to develop as an artist, as a singer, as a human, and the faster you're going to get to where you want to go in your career. But if you're not thinking big and instead you're settling for those little goals, it just makes it so much more difficult to rapidly improve who you are and the results that you're getting, which is why it's one of the early warning signs that your singing career is heading for disaster. And I tell people this all the time. If you want to grow and advance spiritually, advance as a human being, don't just go sit and meditate in a cave. Start a career as a professional singer. Because if you do that and you have an aggressive vision for your career, oh my goodness, you are going to be tested in 1,000 different ways, but you will grow. You will. And you're going to grow really fast. And there's definitely something to be said for putting yourself on the line every day and moving through any of those resistances or wobbles or circumstances to go do that. And what people tend to do is they put themselves on the line and they start walking the path of their singing career with their old mindset, their old mind trash, their old tools, their old strategies. And then when it doesn't work, their first thought is, well, I guess I'm not good enough. I guess I'm not talented enough. This is a sign. This is a sign that it's just really impossible to succeed in the entertainment industry. And it's just normal to be a starving artist, right? That's what we tell ourselves. And so what happens is that we think small. And instead of looking at it in terms of, hey, this is something I have to learn, right? This is something I've got to get. And on the other side of this, something is calling me to be more. It's causing me to grow, right? And so that's actually a really, really good segue into the last early warning sign that your singing career is heading for disaster. It's a thing you must stop doing if you want to become a successful singer, and that is dabbling instead of doing. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is you can spend a lot of time in the information gathering mode where you know something needs to change. Maybe your recordings are languishing without mainstream attention, or you're not landing the gigs and the roles from your auditions in big shows. And you're just sort of like dipping your toes in the water, dabbling with band-aids that make you feel like you're doing something to fix things, but don't actually address the real problems. Like, going down the YouTube rabbit hole, as you watch me on here, maybe on YouTube, but still, going down the YouTube rabbit hole to try to fix your vocal technique problems, or worse, staying with teachers that you've been with for years who just keep telling you the same things and you're not seeing any change or any results. And so you just assume that the problem is you and your ability. And so you're just dabbling and you're not taking action for real change. So go pay whatever it takes to work with the best people and have them get you into action on fixing these big issues step by step, because otherwise you're just going to be listening to 50 different people and you're going to be getting analysis paralysis. Or you're going to only have one old voice in your head with old strategies that have been not working for you and keeping you stuck and not getting results this whole time. Neither works. And what creates success, guys, is massive action and decisive, inspired change. And so the faster you can get out of dabbling and to little band-aids and get into action to do the big things and the hard things that it needs to fix the issues of why you're not making the impact that you need with your voice that gets you noticed, then the better and more powerful you and your singing are going to be. So you need to put your stake in the ground. You really do. You need to be all in, guys. And we're coming back to the idea of doing something that might feel a bit scary that creates massive momentum for you. And so it's just so easy to do like a little bit. And then it's like, okay, one step forward, two steps back, two steps forward, two steps back. But when you put your stake in the ground, you say, okay, what is the one thing that I can do right now that I know doing that one thing puts that stake in the ground and means that it's going to create massive amounts of momentum and results and change. I know that I'm going to be able to make a huge impact when I do that with my voice and have a massive career on the other side of that. And so that's big. You know, it's one of those things. It's like saying, I'm going to make my Broadway debut in 9 months from now. Ooh, that could catch your breath. But what it also creates is momentum. Put your stake in the ground. I'm going to get my first role in a Broadway show in 9 months from now. Stake in the ground. And this is what we try to do and to create that momentum and that accountability with the singers who we work with. You know, they're making an investment to work with us. They're making a commitment to work with us. And man, we hit the ground running and eliminating all the technique trash and all the mind trash that's been stopping them from getting there. So we don't let people just sit there and like watch some videos and gather some information and then just like cool their heels. No. We actually get them into action. We hold them accountable. We make sure that you're following the steps and make sure that you're doing the things because we know that looking at a lot of these things is probably outside your comfort zone for most of you. But we're holding your hand through every step of that process and we're making sure that you're actually getting the transformation that actually does it. And that's why our clients get such amazing results in such a short period of time because we don't let people just like hang out. Like, really, that's what this is all about. Like, we talked about these three things. We talked about doing things differently for a different result. We talked about not getting ready to get ready anymore. We talked about all of the thinking small and the dabbling instead of doing. And those are the early warning signs that the singing career is headed for disaster and the big habits that you must give up if you want to become a successful singer and have a sustainable career at it. But really, if you think about it, all those three things are just really about getting into massive action. And so if that's what you really want, then the next step, the biggest step you could possibly take would be to book a call with me and my team. And so if you're a professional singer who is out there auditioning, recording, performing, you know you're talented, you're serious about this, and you are in the hustle, and you've not had so much training, or maybe you've put so much time and energy into the game, but you're just not seeing the results that you want in the form of the thriving singing career that you really want to create, then I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. And so here's what I want you to do. If you're watching this on YouTube, I want you to click the book a call in the end screen at the end of this video. If you're watching on Facebook, click the book a call link that's in the comments. And when you click on those links, guys, you're going to answer some questions and then you're going to see our calendar. And that calendar has all the available appointment times for the next couple days. If you don't see an appointment time, it means we got booked up really quickly. Just click it again a couple days later and choose the appointment time that works for you. And we'll call you at that time that you choose. And we're going to get on the phone for like 45 minutes. And we're really going to get into everything that's going on with your singing. What's working? Here's what's not working. Here's what you've tried. Here's where you're stuck. Here's what you want to achieve. Here's why you haven't been able to achieve it. Look at the gap between where you are and where you want to go. And we're going to get clarity. And then we're going to put our heads together. We're going to come up with a really amazing game plan and strategy to get past these obstacles, to get you moving where you want to go. And then if you want to talk to us about implementing that strategy and that game plan and how we can help you do that, great. We can talk about that too. And if not, that's okay. Our goal on the call is to help provide you clarity and massive value into action. And so click the link at the end of the video to book a call, because if you have been stuck thinking small, you have been taught to do that. If you have been stuck getting ready to get ready, if you've been dabbling, this is the path out of it once and for all. And look, building the singing career of your dreams, I'm not going to say it's easy by any means, but the things that you need to do are actually relatively simple. So you just have to learn how to get out of your own way so you can do them. So let us lay that path for you. the game plan, the step-by-step, and let us honestly hold your feet to the fire a little bit, get you into action. And when you run into problems, we will be there for you. So this is my invitation to you. If you are serious and you are in the game, book a call with us. And I will see you guys next week on the next episode of the Pro Singer Success Collective. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning into today's episode. If you want to subscribe, click the link right over there that says subscribe. And if you want to book a breakthrough session with me, which you absolutely should do, then click the link right over here that says book a call to schedule an appointment to speak with us. I'll see you on the next episode.